Hey, good day to you. This is the regular dude walking in the Word, and today we're continuing our journey through the book of Mark. And today we're going to look at Mark 3 verses 1 through 6. We're talking about the Sabbath. Last time we met together, we talked about the Sabbath also and the legalism that the Pharisees were putting on the people. And today we're continuing on. You're going to see Jesus is getting angry about this because of all the rules and stuff they're putting on the people. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been frustrated because someone wasn't getting it or they weren't understanding what you were trying to do? Years ago, I had a guy that worked for me, and he was frustrating to me because you would explain how to do something, and he just wouldn't get it. He would you'd tell him how to do something, and then the next day he would have forgot and is doing something totally different. And it got to the point where it was like, oh, so frustrating. And it was easier for you just to go ahead and do the whole job alone rather than have someone help you that was actually messing things up, okay? Jesus, in this situation, these are religious leaders that he's talking to. And they were called by God to lead the people, but they're just messing things up. And he gets angry at them at the end of this passage. So today's passage, I'm going to read it here. It's in Mark 3, verses 1 through 6. And it says this. So get your Bibles together. It says this: Another time Jesus went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus. Whoops. So they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." Then Jesus asked them, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger, and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. And he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Then the Pharisees went out and began to plot with the Herodians how they might kill Jesus. Now, let's talk about this passage here. You notice it says they watched him closely whether he would heal him on the Sabbath or not. These religious leaders, they knew that Jesus had the power to heal, and they were expecting him to heal. It was a trap, really. Like, I don't have a good example for it, but they had the bait there. They knew Jesus would fall into it because how can he not do good? Okay. So these guys knew about Jesus, but they didn't truly know Jesus. There's people like that today, a lot of people like that. They know all about Jesus. They can tell you all kinds of stuff about Jesus, but do they have a relationship with Jesus? Do they know him? No, they don't. Today, I would encourage you guys to be that way. Be a person that knows Jesus within you, has a relationship with Jesus, not knows about Jesus, has facts and figures and stuff. Then the next thing it said, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or evil, to save a life or to kill?" David Guzik, a commentary, he had said, "There's never a wrong day to do something truly good." Okay, so it didn't matter what day it was. If you were doing good, God's more concerned about that than the legalism. If you, let's say you had cut your finger in that day and age, you cut your finger, you were allowed, according to Jewish law, you were allowed to put a bandage on it to cover it up. But you weren't allowed to put some ointment on it, like Neosporin or whatever, to keep the bacteria from growing or getting infected. You weren't allowed to do that. You had to wait till Monday to do that, or Sunday to do that. You had to wait till the day after the Sabbath. You couldn't do that. You could get the immediate thing stopped, but you couldn't be, working on the healing aspect of it. Even though putting a Neosporin on it's just kind of a natural thing to do, but you weren't allowed to do that. So Jesus, all this legalism, it's getting to the point now where he gets angry because he can see what these guys are doing, the Pharisees are doing. And he gets angry, but notice he not only gets angry, but he's grieved. It also says he's grieved at the hardness of their hearts. Okay. I can get angry about stuff. I can get angry about the way different things that are happening in our country, but I also should be grieving about what's happening in our country too, and about the hardness of hearts. That's the way Jesus was. And if you notice too, Jesus tells the paralytic is there, and he's brought in, and Jesus says, stretch out your hand. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, the paralytic, he can't move his hand. Okay, so the thing is, this paralyzed man, he has to make the effort. He has to attempt to stretch out his hand. So he stretches out his hand. He attempts to stretch out his hand. It's an act of faith. He stretches out his hand, and as he does that, his hand is healed. So sometimes Jesus asks that of us, that we need the faith, and we need to take that step out and do that. And that's what happened to the paralytic here. He couldn't stretch out his hand before, but in this case, he attempts to stretch it out, and like bammo, there it is. It's stretched out. He's healed. The last part, it says, the Pharisees now joined forces with the Herodians to kill Jesus. Now the Herodians, let me explain who that group is. They're not like just another religious group. They were actually Jews that were kind of supporting Herod. It seems kind of crazy to have Jews that supported Herod, but they were like that. And so these two, the Pharisees and the Herodians, were two different groups and would never be talking to each other before that. But this common thing of, we got to get rid of this Jesus, it brought them together. And so they were both enemies of Jesus, and that brought them together. And they were trying to figure out ways not just to get him out of the picture, but they wanted to kill him. That's how anxious they were to get rid of Jesus. So they were anxious to kill him. There's actually three takeaways I have for today from this passage. The first one is this: you can know about God, but you need to truly know him and have a relationship with him. So there's many people today, if I ask this neighborhood, a lot of them know all about God, but do they know God? That's a different question. And then the second thing is this: quit the legalism, do good, and serve the Lord. Okay, all the legalism stuff, hopefully we don't have that today, and hopefully you don't notice it as much, but it's still here today. There's legalism all around us, and we need to stop that stuff and serve the Lord and do good. Okay, and then the last thing is to use the Sabbath for good. Whenever you have the Sabbath, on Sunday or whatever, use it for good. You don't have to be shut up in your house. Well, you should be during the coronavirus thing but look for ways to do good during that time. Focus on others and how you can do good. And that's what Jesus was doing. He was looking, how can I help others during this time? So anyway, Lord's blessing to you. We will catch you next time as we continue our journey through the book of Mark. Lord bless you. We'll see you next time. Thanks.